So I've kind of decided that having a 3D printer is a lot like having a pickup truck. Once you get one, everybody needs it. Everybody needs something. But it's actually fun because it gives you a reason to print things, and especially um, when family comes over, one of the things that's kind of neat and fun is they come into the shop, and I enjoy kind of giving away some of the prints. There's a number of them that have been gone. I had my sister and daughter and grandson came over this weekend, so I have much fewer prints, or a handful of fewer prints. Um, but in the process, I got asked to make some card holders. So basically, my sister has a bunch of playing cards, and she wanted something to put them in. So I volunteered to give it a shot, and figured I'd throw them into Fusion 360, come up with something, print them out, and see how it goes. Stick around and see what kind of fun ensued. I'm Ron, and this is my place. So, everybody knows that all the YouTubers out there and everybody that does all their projects and does videos of them, we all know everything goes absolutely perfectly at all times for them, right? Everything always goes absolutely flawlessly, because you don't ever possibly have any failed prints. Just doesn't happen. We all know that it goes wonderfully. It never goes wrong. And you just push a button and you magically have everything works out beautifully. And you get all these different wonderful boxes with no problems, no flaws. Everything is fabulous. Yeah. So, anywho, what I did, so I had her measure the cards, and she sent me pictures with the tape measure on it because she couldn't measure them. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if anybody else runs into that, but it was pretty humorous. I hope she doesn't watch my videos. She usually doesn't, so hopefully she won't see it and know that I'm chuckling at her. And the good news is I asked my daughter to help her, and she also couldn't do it. So they took pictures and sent them via text or whatever. And two of them were the same, and then one of them was quite different. And ironically, what you can kind of see is the Pictionary cards got split in half in size-wise. So I'm going to show it on what I did in Fusion 360, but it was kind of cool. I just tried to use some of the things that I've learned, and I'm sure there's better ways of doing it. But in short, I ended up creating a sketch of the one side with the angles, and then just mirrored it across one of the lines to go across. And then I also put in a pattern on the bottom to keep it from any chance of warping and to save plastic, and then also mirrored that across. It all went well. The only flaw was once I basically put one pattern in and then did a rectangle pattern. And then when I mirrored that whole thing across, it really seemed to slow stuff down. It was heavily constrained, but it worked. It just really slowed things down at the end. But one thing I did that was neat, knowing that I was going to have to make two, I did a really good thing, I guess, and I actually paid very close attention to making sure that I constrained this length with this length, and that this line and this line were the same. So that way I only had to add two sizes, and it automatically, it's parametric, I think is what they call it. Probably get the words wrong, but once I added those two, all I had to do was change two numbers, and suddenly I had the other side. Everything was the same. And then I did have some issues with the bottom, so I had to redo the pattern, and I tried circle instead of octagon. So anywho, I got stuff everywhere here, but I'm going to, let me show you some of the the blue, these all that are blue got printed on the Mark III. And as you can see, it just printed really, really nice. This is Maker Geek's translucent, or crystal, I think is what they call it. Maker Geek's crystal blue. Looks beautiful. And this is kind of a crystal gray. I don't know, it was a transitional roll, but again, as you can see, this was printed on the CR-10 with, of course, the BondTech extruder setup that I've got, and it also printed fabulously. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. And then the lids, you can see a little bit of first layer oddities, but for the most part, beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. And the little guy, again, beautiful first layers. Wonderful pictures or prints. Absolutely beautiful. And that's pretty much all. The rest of them are the same. So now one thing you do notice is what I did when I made it was I made it's a little bit loose, but I didn't want it to be tight at all. So I think it's a decent size because it goes on and off pretty easy. I think I did a 1mm offset. Once I made the box, then I made the lids that would scale appropriately. The only flaw, and honestly I'm not 100% sure what I did to mess it up, is somehow or another the height of the lid and the card holder didn't get quite right. I mean, it's going to work fine, but it's not quite as tall. So I'm not 100% sure what I did. Oh, I don't have that. The two printers fit beautifully together. So I ended up with 3 large boxes, which would be one for Uno, one for Phase 10, and then I got 2 of the little ones for basically for the Pictionary. And because apparently I suck at math, I ended up with an extra. Probably because of all, I mean, I went through so many. It was, you saw them, I threw them all on the floor. It was an interesting struggle. Just to kind of tell you, I started off, I was printing on the Mark III, and after it was the ones that were here, it got that high, so it was just a little bit from being completed, and and my printer threw up print fan error. I'd never seen that before, so I didn't know what the heck. I'm like, okay, well, it was no recovering it, even though I could turn the fan on and everything ran and I could see it all running just fine. It even read the RPMs, but there was no recovering the print. It just was failed. So I recovered that, tested the fan completely, could see both fans just fine, started the next print. As soon as it got to the 3rd layer when it was going to turn the print fan on, it failed again. Super frustrating. At that point I looked and the fan's dead. Well, the fan spins, but it doesn't know what the RPM is. Reset everything, rebooted everything, still was bad. Finally ended up just disabling the fan monitoring, and it printed and finished off the print. So now I'm going to have to get a hold of Prusa and see about getting a fan or something sent out. I'm not 100% sure right now if it's the fan or the if it's either the fan or the motherboard or the main board. I guess I'll find out. I just haven't looked at it. I got too irritated. So then, meanwhile, while all this was going on, I was printing on the CR-10, and the CR-10's been printing great, fabulous. Everything's wonderful. But I started printing. So, anyways, it was printing. Everything was printing just fabulously. I'm going to show it to you. just wonderful, great first layer, and was into the second layer. And as I was looking at it, kind of marveling at the beauty that we call 3D printing first layers, I was looking at the next piece, and I'm like, why are these weird tabs on there? And then when you compare that to what it should look like, obviously one of these two doesn't look the same. So I was digging at this, trying to figure out what happened, and what it ended up being was my G-code was corrupt. I used Simplified 3D to slice this, and it sliced it wrong. I don't really know what happened. I basically made the STL out of Fusion 360, tossed it into Slick 3R Prusa edition, and it worked just fine. Well, I used that same STL file and tried to slice it in Simplified 3D, and as you can see, it printed all the angle pieces. It didn't start those until the top layer. So it would have completely failed because it would have been nothing. These upright supports, these supports that should be from the base up, were printing, and they weren't going to start at the top layer. So I was really confused, jumped back into Simplify 3D and verified that, yeah, I didn't pay attention and didn't notice when I sliced it, but that's exactly what the slicer said it was going to do. It sliced it as designed. I don't know what the heck. So I tried reslicing it, bringing the STL again, sliced it again, still the same thing. Dropped it into Slick 3R Prusa edition, and it looked perfect like this. Tried to check manifolds and all this crazy stuff, and I did see that on Simplify 3D, it was noticing that there was intersecting surfaces or something like that. So obviously it was causing fits for Simplify 3D, but Slick 3R somehow saw them and corrected them automatically. So that one was a win for Slick 3R. Went back into Fusion 360, took the exact same model and just output it again as an STL, dumped it right in, and it worked beautifully on Simplify 3D. So I really don't know what the difference was or what happened. I just was a bad slice, and that just goes to show you, I mean, don't always assume it's your printer screwing up. Sometimes G-code just is bad. STLs can just be bad, and sometimes you have to redo them. So you guys got to always be on the lookout for that. So, all right, well, I've been babbling enough. I think I'm going to show you, jump right in and show you how I made these real quick in Fusion 360, and I'll just run it through it really fast, and we'll call it good. We'll see you when we get back. Okay, so here we are in Fusion 360, and what I did, it's going to be a little hard to see because of the way I did it, but I started out where I just drew this inside box, so a simple rectangle, and then I sized this line here and this line here to be kind of the go-betweens, meaning this one I made sure this was going to be the same size of this one, and this one was going to be the same size of this one. And what that did, when you look at it, you can see that I have two measurement numbers. So then when I wanted to change the size, all I have to do is change those numbers, and the entire drawing changes and is all scaled together. I can't really do a lot on this drawing because you can see all the constraints in here. For whatever reason, I think that was causing tons of issues, and everything gets going really slow. But anyways, we'll run through it real quick. I made the outer box, or the inner box here, and then after I did the inner box, I ended up doing a offset of 2 millimeters to give me the outer part of the box. And then at that point, I ended up putting little cuts in at 10 millimeters, I think, on either side, and then that was going to be my edges that hold the cards. After that, I ended up mirroring, and I used the mirror command on the sketch here. I used, where is it? Mirror. You can't see it because I don't have anything selected, but mirror, when you're in sketch, it allowed me, I basically copied all or highlighted all of this and mirrored everything on this center line, and it just flipped it all the way over. So it was 100% and tied directly to whatever the measurements did on this side. After that, all I did was added the, anyway, I added this shape in here, and then once I added it, I did a rectangular pattern and then adjusted it so it looked nice. And then I just mirrored that all over to the other side. And at that point, I came out of the sketch, and at that point, I have my bodies, and you could see that the first thing I did was extruded the whole bottom up, and I did 2 millimeters. And then the next thing I did was I grabbed the edges, all those corner pieces, and I extruded those up. And once I did that, I cut the holes and extruded those as cut. So anyways, I made did the exact same steps, where I ended up creating a box using the sketch on the inside here. I projected up the outside edge and projected that into the current drawing, into the sketch for my lid. And then from there, since that's now the inside here, I basically did an offset of 3 millimeters because I wanted a 2 millimeter wall with a 1 millimeter gap all the way around. So I did an offset of 3 millimeters, and then once that was done, I extruded out that straight up as a big block, and then I ended up rotating to look up from the bottom. And after that, I did a shell, and once I shelled it, you can see it went from being a full block to just a shell with a 2 millimeter thickness, which allowed me to have a 1 millimeter around. And at that point, I was done. So that was how I did it, and it was pretty easy. It was neat using some of all the different little things that I've been learning over the last year as I've been messing with Fusion 360, and it really is amazing. All the little tricks speed things up so much, but it's also funny just how bad it can go, so how fast. But that's what learning's about, and it's kind of fun. And I'm sure there's things I did wrong that caused it all to blow up the way it was. But whatever, it worked. Hopefully you got something out of this. Again, everything I printed today was Maker Geeks, all crystal PLA of 2 different colors. Printed at 235 on the nozzle, 60 on the bed for the Mark III, and 50 degrees on the bed for the CR-10, because I'm a wimp and it's slow to heat up, so I kind of go warmer or cooler. And again, I had issues with the Mark III again, so now I got a bad fan to go with all the other bad parts that I've had on it. A little frustrating. Still love the printer. It prints great and fabulous when it prints. I'm pretty much about ready to do my review of it, I think, or my thoughts after 4 months. You'll probably be seeing that next, I think, that'll probably come out next. And not 100% sure what I'm going to say yet. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's not going to be liked by everybody, but it's just going to be my opinion, my thoughts. Still love it. Still my favorite printer of the 3 that I've got. Just a little bit disappointed in certain aspects of it. But support's great, fabulous, wonderful. Woohoo! But I would prefer it just to print and I didn't have to use support, actually. So, there you go. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully I didn't bore you too bad. Remember, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the like if you like what we're doing. If you don't like what we're doing, do whatever you want to do. And then leave me a comment or something. Just kind of let me know what we can do better. We meaning me, for you. And I do super appreciate everybody that sticks around and watches me talk. Hopefully you get something out of it. I'm truly doing it for you because I'm really getting nothing out of it. I have major hopes that someday this is going to hit 1,000. It just would be cool. At about 820 now, almost 819, and I keep going up and down. So obviously not everybody likes it and sticks around, but we're doing good. The views, your all's visits have been doing well. We're almost at 100,000, so we're a couple thousand short, and we'll hit 100,000 visits. So I truly appreciate it. I wanted to thank everybody. Yep, and hopefully I can keep putting these out. And if you have things you want to see, throw it out there. And oh, one person, the Beast, you're famous now. Be happy. He's given some good suggestions. Haven't been able to use them yet. At some point I will, but I promised him I would call him out, and there you go. It's all you, the Beast. So you're famous now, so hopefully you're happy. And I promise my excessive weight won't break the juicer. You don't stand on the juicers, you just turn on them. So anywho, have fun. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great night, and print everything you can.